नगरग्रामतारिणे नम ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, we welcome all of our Zoom listeners to this Grihastha workshop. Again, another disclaimer that today, whatever we are just today, tomorrow, day after, whatever we will discuss is what we have heard from the senior devotees, from Srila Prabhupada's books, from some of very stable grihasthas in our movement. And so we are just in this mood of sharing whatever we have learned in ISKCON about Krishna consciousness. And also there will be some practical tips as well, which may not be so-called Krishna conscious, but they will lead to a Krishna conscious married life. What are your expectations from this particular workshop? Because yes, we have designed this workshop in a particular way, but before we start with this entire workshop, the first few minutes we wanted to spend in hearing from you. What are your expectations? And then we'll share what we have planned during this workshop and see whether those expectations match or how much of it can be fulfilled.
Krishna Mataji and Prabhuji, Dandavats pranams.
Dandavats.
Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Gurudev. We are so lucky and blessed to have your association, Mataji. My expectation from this workshop is, see, recently we got into Krishna conscious way of living life. So we wanted to really know how to live life in Krishna consciousness, the married life in Krishna consciousness, because we really want to be what our children wants to be in the future. Like if we live our life today, that is how they will also follow. That's what I want, and we want rather. My Prabhu also, like we started, and all of us, we got into it, more or less we are doing, but actually how we need to live in Krishna consciousness, particularly we want to know. Because
Pranam to the glorious couple. Thank you so much. First of all, I got this inspiration to hear about the Grahastha is by seeing Prabhuji and Mataji. Like you are the big example of Grahastha. Like looking at you, giving us so much knowledge together. So I'm like, it's like I want to know the Rahasya.
We have got so much of love to Krishna. So whatever we do should not be the way of Krishna consciousness. We really want to know, because Gnana Yoga, that is the purpose of getting into this workshop. Through Gnana, I want to know how to lead the married life meaningfully. So to go back home, back to Godhead, and to gain the love of Krishna, we have to live the way Krishna has told. That we can learn only by parampara. So that is what we are expecting from this workshop, Mataji and Prabhuji. Dandavats pranams.
How can we behave in a grihastha life, and how can we take them in a service they are doing by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. But how we have to behave that it's not effect to our kids.
Hmm.
Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
Yeah. The fights between the husband and wife should not affect our children. And how can we look at it at that way when we are at that heat of the moment? Very nice.
And I think on the third day we have some material where we are just focusing on second and third day how to. There are three situations. One is both couple are Krishna conscious before marriage. Krishna conscious in the sense they have decided we will be in Krishna consciousness, and then they get married. Second is one of the spouse is in Krishna consciousness and the other is not, and that's when they get married. And the third is both are not in Krishna consciousness before marriage. After marriage, both came to Krishna consciousness. And what are the challenges in each of these different situations? So yes, we will discuss some of these things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how to bring a spouse and encourage them to take up Krishna consciousness?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
मैं यहाँ मैसूर से बोल रही हूँ,
हाँ जी. बोलिए.
मैसूर कर्नाटका.
Okay.
मैं ये जानना चाहती हूँ कि कृष्णा कॉन्शियस में रह के फिर अभी जो हम जिंदगी के ऐसे पड़ाव में हैं जहाँ बाहर का अंदर का कोई ना कोई, जैसे ठंडी हवा गर्म हवा सभी चलती रहती है, उसको हम कैसे फेस करें और उसमें हम स्थित प्रज्ञ कैसे रहें, ये मैं जानना चाहती हूँ.
Good, very good. How to stay stable in Krishna consciousness. Very nice. ठीक है Mataji. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we pray that
thank you so
your
much.
expectation will be met. Very.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji and Prabhuji. Done with pranams to both of you. I've been following you since your Bhagavatam sessions, and I want to thank you for all the beautiful sessions that you've held for all of us. My question is, I have no problem with my husband. Like, he is totally supportive, and both of us are Krishna conscious. I have 3 daughters, and they are not really into Krishna consciousness. I would like them to get into Krishna consciousness. Yeah, they support me. They okay, mummy karti hai puja mere saath. But I would really like them to do it of their own free will, not because I am forcing them, which I never do. My expectation from this session is, grihastha, they include children also. So, बच्चों को कैसे इसमें लाएं? Please guide us with this.
Wonderful. How to bring Krishna, how to inspire our children in Krishna consciousness.
Yes,
okay.
Mataji.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mataji.
Prabhuji, please accept my humble and pronouns. Jai Shri Prabhupada, Jai Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji, for giving your time again for us to help in our Krishna consciousness. So I have an expectation that like when we read Bhagavatam, so Prabhupada always mentioned the purpose sometimes of Vedic wife. So like when we read, so I'm not sure like what the way that we are living, is it a Vedic way or because of the modernized thing, like I don't know, like how we have to follow a proper Vedic way, Grihastha life, which is leading to Krishna consciousness. So that's my expectation. So thank you so much.
Actually, my Prabhuji is very, very simple, very, very, lot of patience Krishna has given him everything. He doesn't say anything, but he's very patient man. He's very calm. is like, I mean, I don't see him getting angry or anything on that. So that is my only point, to direct him towards Krishna
Okay.
consciousness.
Okay. Okay.
That is my expectation, how to do it, how to balance.
Krishna Mataji, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Mataji, I have one important expectation from this session, especially from the Prabhuji standpoint of view. Myself being a male, there's so much of male ego, and that kind of, causes some kind of flares in Grihastha life. And so I would like to hear from Prabhuji as well, the perspective of how being a male, how one should, conduct himself in Krishna conscious, where that kind of male stigma does not, cause issues and becomes very harmonious in married life. And second thing is, obviously, the children aspect. We are practicing Krishna conscious, how we can make them bring to a level where they understand that Krishna consciousness is everything in life. So that's something that I want to throw light you both, so that it will help us out.
Wonderful.
Yes, that's a very important point. Tomorrow we will discuss about the psychology of the man and psychology of woman, and then see how it can be. It's not just the woman should understand the psychology of man, but man should also understand the psychology of woman. And the wonderful thing about this is, even if we know what is the psychology, it's so difficult to understand still from the other person when the actual situation happens. But it's a good first step to at least understand what is the expectation of the woman and the expectation of the man, unsaid, unheard expectations. Just like we are having this expectation session right now, it's just to understand that. But we are also very much trying to hear what are the unsaid, unheard expectations that are trying to be communicated. So yes, tomorrow we are discussing about the psychology of man and woman. We'll show that. About kids, yes, that's a very important. Kids are also part of the Grihastha ashram, and we'll have a few tips on that in general. Thank you.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. I can't thank you enough for such an amazing, much awaited workshop, which we all had been looking forward to. Mataji, I just have one very simple question regarding the couple where both of them are working and the hours are quite erratic. So that clashes with, like our japa time and all, because we have long hours of working. And what are the roles of husbands and wives in Grihastha life? Because once you go out to work and you are also spending, equal amount of time with your job and everything, then you naturally expect that your Prabhuji should also, uh, help you equally.
Yes.
So, but like just now the Prabhuji has said, male ego and all that, it's difficult to convince them, because at the end of the day, it's your duty. And having two children working and with in-laws, I hope you can understand, it becomes overwhelming.
It does.
So,
it does.
So how do we manage that? And I have heard from my Shiksha Guru that a woman should not work. So I do know that point, that we should be at home and all that. But staying in a metropolitan city there, like I would not say that I'm at that level that, I feel like leaving my job, because I love what I do. I'm passionate about my profession as well. So how do I do that? So that keeps me in dilemma all the time.
I think we have some solutions for that. We have some tips on that. We do have some tips.
I look forward to that, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gun.
Hi,
Haribol, Hare Krishna.
so much for this. This is so special. All glories to Guru Maharaj. So I'm wondering, well, we're both wondering, like, kind of a similar thing. So problems and disagreements always come, of course. It's like the nature of life and being so close with somebody, but we're wondering how to address those problems in a way like with not overreacting, especially reacting with anger and frustration, like from the false ego, like I want it this way, or I expect you to be a certain way for me, and when you're not like that, I'm gonna get so upset at you. So kind of like being less reactive, and then also like trying to be in those same moments like selfless. And for me especially, like if he doesn't want to speak to me right now, he's not feeling good, but I want to talk so bad, but being selfless like a devotee is, and being compassionate, like I care more about his needs than my needs right now, like that. Some of those things we hope you can address and help us.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
To know the best ways to bring kids to Krishna consciousness in this material world. You mean bring up kids, or actually the Garbhadhan Samskar, how to bring Vaishnava kids into our family?
We could address
both, but the other one is something more specific, the second one. But anyway, we'll see if we can address that. Second is
to progress in Krishna consciousness and attain the goal of Krishna consciousness in Grihastha life. There are pitfalls, and still how to keep the focus on the goal. Very good. Very good. We will start.
Can we have the slideshow, please? Thank you so much for sharing your expectations. This gives us an idea of whether we are on the right track and addressing some of the concerns. So we'll look at the overview once we have the slideshow. So our session was the expectations first, then we go to overview.
Can we go back? Yes, thank you.
Overview of these 3 days. What are we going to do? Then there are 6 thumb rules of a successful marriage. And so we'll discuss 2 rules every day for these 3 days. Then we discuss Grihastha versus Grihamedhi, and something unique that we would be doing every day at the end of the session is mimicking real life situations. And we'll explain a little more about that in a while. Next slide, please.
So here's what we have for the next 3 days, including today, what we have planned for all of you. Today, day 1, December 22nd, we have expectations, which we already did. We will go over the overview, which we are doing now. We will talk about Grihasthas versus Grihamedhi. What is a Grihamedhi, or who is a Grihamedhi? Who is a Grihastha? Let's understand by definition at least. And then we will discuss on thumb rule 1 and 2 today. And today we will be doing the real life situations on the topic of lack of sensitivity. So how that really applies with some practical real life scenarios. And let's keep this in mind that these are actual scenarios that have happened with many devotees, and these have been compiled. And so we'll give you further details about that. Next, tomorrow we will be having
duties of a husband and a wife, and thumb rule 3 and 4. Then in the real life situations, we'll explore poor communication, how a situation where things very quickly escalated due to poor communication. And that's where we will discuss about the psychology of a man versus a psychology of a woman. And it's really helpful to understand the woman to understand man's psychology, man to understand woman's psychology, and where this communication gap comes in. It's just the way we are all wired in that sense.
And the third day, the final day, we will be speaking about keeping Krishna in the center, forgiveness in a marriage or in any relationship for that matter. Forgiveness is an essential aspect for any relationship to be successful. Then thumb rule 5 and 6. And then in the real life situation, we will be talking about lack of respect and trust and conflict resolutions. And of course, then we will be sharing also personal realizations from all of you.
Because, sometimes we consider as devotees, as Vaishnavas, we consider everyone else as Vaishnava, except our spouse. We deal with everyone and say, oh, this is Vaishnava Aparad, I should not do Vaishnava Aparad. But a Vaishnava is staying with us. We may be performing Vaishnava Aparad or offenses to our own spouse, and we should consider them as Vaishnava Aparad and devotees as well. And that leads to a very tricky situation, because while one person is thinking, yes, I should not do Vaishnava Aparad to my spouse, the other spouse should not utilize or misuse that situation, say, oh, you are doing Vaishnava Aparad on me. And so therefore, I would, therefore you be careful. So that becomes a very, very tricky thing. And that's why it requires mutual respect and trust in each other. Both spouses should think that, yes, we should not perform Vaishnava Aparad, irrespective of whether they are devotees or not. Because who are we to say who is a devotee or not? But we'll discuss who is a devotee, who is a Vaishnava, how do we deal, all of those things.
Perfect. Next slide, please. So out of the 6 thumb rules, today we will discuss thumb rules 1 and 2. And please, we will have some interactions here also. So can we have the next slide, please?
So there are 6 thumb rules. They are not necessarily spiritual. It's not that they are from the Shastras, but they're based on spiritual principles, which are useful in leading a happy Grihastha life. The first 2 is the first one, do not nag. Meaning, so here we'd like to hear from you. What do you understand from this first thumb rule?
Can we momentarily end the slideshow? And thank you. So can we understand, what do we, could you give us some examples of what do we understand by do not nag? Anyone?
Like irritating or fault finding, like we feel like you are not perfect, you are doing something wrong, I thought that you are doing it, but you are doing it in a different way, like somewhere like we feel that we are perfect and we are fine to try to make fault finding or something, that we feel that we are perfect, they are not perfect. That is also a part of a nag, right? Like yes. It's my opinion, Mataji. I don't know about that. That is the thing.
No, it's perfect. Perfect. Repeating the same thing again and again until the other person does it. Very good. Very good. From Manasi, nagging is when we keep repeating and telling the same thing again and again when result doesn't come. Very good. Very good.
And this is actually a result. This in modern life, it has magnified, especially because of the use of cell phones. How is a cell phone related to nagging? That's because we have on our fingertips a phone, and we press a button and it gives us something. We press, for example, the text message button, and then it opens up. We press a particular Zoom app and it opens up. And if it doesn't open up, then we kind of, oh, what is this? But we have become used to situations where we tell, because we are so much interacting with machines, we tell machine, it does it. And now suddenly when we are dealing with a human, we expect the same thing. I'm pressing this button. Why are you not responding the way I want you to respond? And the whole world is actually going in that direction. We are thinking we are automating things. It's so wonderful. Yes, it is. But there is a downside to it. In our relationships, it has started to affect where we are expecting, do this, and until we, now if in the phone, if we are clicking on an app and it doesn't open, what do? We keep clicking and hoping that it'll do something, maybe beating it up and say open, and then maybe suddenly it opens. And then we take that mentality into our relationships. We keep repeating the same thing again and again, hoping, this app would open up on the other person. So yes, we should, but understand we're dealing with a human being, not a machine. And that's why, and that the machine cannot come back and come back at us. We can. So it affects our relationships. And so there are many other things. In these 6 thumb rules, we'll see some do's and some don'ts. Today is don'ts. Tomorrow we'll see some do's as well. But yes, this is very important.
Srila Radhanath Swami Guru Maharaj, he says a very important point. He says, things are meant to be used. Things like our phones, our computers, our laptops, they are meant to be used. But nowadays, what do?
People are meant to be loved.
We actually do the opposite. We love our things. We love our gadgets. We love our phones. And we are using people. It should be the other way around. We should be loving people and using things. But in Kali Yuga, it's the opposite. We love our things and we use people. So we must be careful that that should not happen in our relationships, whether it is between husband and wife, whether it is between mother and child, whether it is between brother and sister, whatever it is, any relationship should be freed from using them as objects, pressing them till the time that they just burst. That should not be the way we treat others in this way. So
instead of nagging, then if I don't nag, then the natural question is, how can I get it done? He doesn't listen, she doesn't listen, unless I nag and nag and nag. Well, the other way is try to understand. Instead of nagging and keeping on nagging, keeping on saying, if that person has not responded, let's try to understand why. Let's keep our expectations aside for the time being. Very difficult to keep our expectations completely aside. So let's say for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to keep my expectations at bay, and I'm going to try to understand what are the challenges and what I'm asking you to do. What is the issue? What do you think is the issue? And try to understand, really hear and understand. And of course, at the end of it, you may find, oh, it's just laziness. But that's okay. At least the other person also understands that you are trying to understand, and then immediately solution comes. But with nagging, there is no solution. It just makes it worse.
So anyone remember what was the second one? Without feeling, understanding the feeling of others, expecting them to change. So that is another thumb rule. Anyone can explain that?
Can we have the slideshow, please? And we can go to the second thumb rule.
You see, marriage is a workshop. Marriage is a workshop in the sense that we are now doing a Grihastha workshop. But marriage is also a workshop. The husband works and the wife shops. Marriage is a workshop. Okay, so the second thumb rule is do not forcefully try to change the nature of your partner.
This was just a joke, but it could easily turn around. If you talk about technology gadgets, then wife works and husband shops.
Very true, very true. So, so do not forcefully try to change the nature of your partner, but be exemplary. So this is the rectification that is also given here, because sometimes I know when we got married, my nature, I can just share my nature with all of you. I'm a person who cannot defend myself. If I'm being chastised or if I'm being told something, I can never defend myself. That's how, just the way I am. That's my nature. And it's been my nature since my childhood. Even when my parents would sometimes tell me some things which I may not have even done, but they might be doing, telling me that, oh, why did you do? I can't even say that, oh, I didn't do it. It's not in my nature to say it. So that would at times, when I would just keep quiet and, if I'm pointed out certain things which I may have not even done, but if I've been told something, my nature is that I just keep quiet. And it took some time for Prabhu to understand this nature of mine. It really took some time for him to understand this nature and then reciprocate according to that understanding. And then he started telling me very compassionately that, he tried to make me understand that if you don't say, if you don't speak, if you're not communicating, how will I be able to understand? So then when, I was being told like this again and again, then, yes, over the years, then it came to the point that, yes, I was also able to speak a few things, come out of my nature a little bit, but he did not shout at me, or rather he was very compassionately trying to get me out of that nature. So this is just an example that I'm sharing with all of you based on both of our relationships as well.
Yes, so it's instead of forcefully trying to change someone, it's better to be exemplary. And this is not just for our spouses, but also for the children. Even children, many times devotees are feeling that I'm chanting, maybe my husband is also chanting, but my children are not. Or maybe I'm chanting, my children are chanting, and my spouse is not chanting. That's okay. Be exemplary, that they are seeing your example. That is having a lot of effect, which we are not able to see it now, because sometimes we feel we want them to chant as long as I can see them, which means within my lifetime they should chant. And in front of me they should chant, then my life is successful. No, just being an example, it is affecting their lives. There was one devotee, they were also having the same issue. Their children were not chanting, they were chanting, and their children would be respectful to their parents, but they just wouldn't chant. They would not, sometimes to please the parents, they would chant, but they were really not into it. And it all went all the way till their teenage years. And then when they became young adults in their 20s, when I think the girl was 24 years old, at that time, she went through a very tough time. And she was not able to, she was like, it was so tough that she didn't know what to do. And that's when she remembered, my mother, my parents used to sit and chant, and they were so peaceful. They never, they were able to overcome all situations in life. And then she took to chanting very seriously. And voluntarily, when she started chanting and taking shelter of the holy name because of the situation that she was going through, that made her experience Krishna's love, the importance of Krishna consciousness. And then she actually started following all the regulative principles, everything immediately. Within 1 year, she got initiated. So and also, continuing, now she had a deeper realization. Why did she take up to chanting so seriously? Because of that example that she was keeping on seeing of her parents. If the parents would have said, why are you not chanting? You should chant. And I will not give you food until you chant. Until you finish this many rounds, I will not give you food. And I will do this and that. That brings a very negative taste into the minds of the children. They're like, chanting means scolding. Chanting means chastisement. And I'm okay, I'll chant because I just want food, or I want to go out and play, and my parents would not let me do that. And so in front of you, they are chanting. But then later, when they go through some tough time, will they take up to chanting? They may want to because they have the knowledge, but they don't have that experience. They have a very negative experience of Krishna consciousness while growing up. So they just don't want to take it up if they are forced. So what do we want? Do we want that we get the immediate gratification of them of us seeing them take to Krishna consciousness proper, in a way that we are telling them and they are doing it? Or do you want them to take up Krishna consciousness in a maybe a little late, but in a very, very serious way, voluntarily? Because they will take up voluntarily, definitely. We just have to be loving, caring, and do our chanting very nicely. Do our Krishna conscious things very nicely. Then eventually they will come up. Eventually, when, we don't know. We are not the controllers. But that's what Krishna consciousness is. We depend on Krishna.
So anyone else want to share anything, any other thing in point number 2 of the thumb rule? Anyone wants to share anything?
Sometimes like he will do, I have 3 children, so he will do chanting, but like he will tell me, mom, if I finish my homework, if I do 5 rounds of chanting, will you give me this Xbox, will you give me this video game? So in that situation, like he will do his rounds, he will read his Bhagavad Gita shlok, but in return he wants something like material, like he wants a video game, or he'll say, you'll take me for ice cream or something like that. So in that situation, like he's bribing me, like, ye doge to ye karunga, like that way. So should I, like, sometimes I think in my mind that this is not a good thing that he's doing, because he's getting the ice cream or the video game, so he's doing it. So so how should I take that? Like, how should I explain him how he should do it just on his own? Like, even I have to always remind him when he gets up. I have to remind him that go beta, go do your chanting. Like, he will do the chanting, but I have to keep reminding him, do it. So, and for the
children, we have to deal very delicately. Very delicately. Comparison, not just with children, but with any relationship. Even to tell our Prabhus that, oh, you don't take care of me. Look at that Prabhu, he takes care of that Mataji so nicely. That's also horrible. Just comparing is a very horrible thing. That should be avoided. It should be avoided, because the person who we are comparing it with, that person feels that, oh my God, this person doesn't even love me. My own mom doesn't love me. And, for my mom, that other person is more better than me. That's the kind of feeling that we are giving our children, which should be avoided.
And they are on a different path. The other child, who is very exemplary, is on a different spiritual journey than our children. They may be on a completely different spiritual journey. So comparing 2 separate journeys in a small moment is not appropriate. What we can compare, though, is their progress. What was it yesterday or in the past versus what is it today?
Means our own kids.
Yes, our own kids. We can compare their past with present and future, but not them with someone else, because it's actually apples and oranges. It doesn't make any sense. we have good intentions. We want them to take inspiration from them, from the other person, and start, doing something. But it may, uh, mostly what we need to focus on is be exemplary and give them love and care as much as possible, so they remember my mom was very loving to me, my father was very loving to me. Why? Because they were devotees, because they used to chant.
So, and the other thing is that sometimes kids do not like to listen from their own parents, because that familiarity is there. So try to get the kids in the association of some other kids directly, into some kind of a youth program, some kind of a, different program where, kids of their own age are there, and they can, talk their mind out to someone other than their parents. Like some young person who can be a motivational speaker, who can inspire the children. So that is the best way that, it is, it's best to, direct our children in that sense. So instead of, reminding them every day, have them in some kind of groups, where if they have good friends, if they have friends as Krishna's devotees, then they'll automatically become devotees. Imagine how we became devotees. We became devotees because we had good friends, right? So if we want our children to become good devotees, we have to make them have good friends. That's the bottom line. So if we have good friends for our children, then they will become devotees. Let them have their own association. Don't control them in that way. Then they will do it out of respite. They will be very remorseful how they are doing their Krishna consciousness, and they'll think that it can be bribed. They can bribe their way out. But maybe you can sometimes give them gifts just like that. Just because it is nice time, just because it is New Year's coming, give them gifts just without them doing anything. So that way, then while giving the gift, you say that, look, bacha, I'm giving you a gift. It doesn't mean that you have to, chant nicely or do anything nicely. I'm giving you a gift because I love you. That's all. You don't have to do anything for me. Even chanting, you don't have to do it for me. That's the message that we need to give to our children, and give them good association. Just connect them to good association. That's the key with children.
So thank you, Mataji. But one thing, like, I don't know if I'm doing it right. Like my daughter, like how in Krishna consciousness, even Krishna is not forcing us. It is our will that we want to go to Krishna consciousness. And like when I talk about Krishna to my daughter, and like we are talking as a family on the table, we are talking about Krishna consciousness. So I tell them that Krishna consciousness you cannot do forcefully. And then on the other side, I tell my daughter, go do your chanting rounds, go do this, like do the arti. So then she tells me that, Mom, you were just telling that it's not, you don't do it forcefully.
Exactly. So we should not say. We should not say.
So as a parent, should we force them or we should not force them?
See, as a parent, we know how much we can tell, like if they are, jaise bolte na rassi ko dheel dena, matlab, you keep a little, loose end on the rope.
It's like raising children is like flying a kite. It has to be connected. The kite has to be connected to the string. We cannot leave the string, because if the string gets cut, it looks like the kite is free, but eventually the kite is going to come down. So it has to be connected to the string. So we have to discipline them, but then we need to know when to release the kite and when to make it tight. And that's the whole goal. But while we are doing that, the underlying message is that we are trying to always be loving and caring for them. They should understand our intentions. That's very important. So there's no right answer when you should do this. Should you never tell them? Should you always tell them? There's something in between, and you would know your child better. Pray to Krishna, he will guide. But one thing is always very clear, that we set an example and we love it.
And do not compare. Please do not.
In my case, it is totally different, Mataji. Myself only have come to Krishna. My husband, my daughter, she's very much grown up. She's in USA also. See, both of them are they love Krishna, but they are not loving the process of ISKCON. But he loves me so much. He helps me also in another way. Whenever he cuts some fruits, he say, "You offer Krishna and then give it to me," and then he will say. But because I'm working, Mataji, so I can be at home only little time after 6 before 9:30. I did not know because as much as earlier I'm getting up, but yesterday he said me through this class I'll listen. Through this, you please guide me, Mataji.
Definitely. Definitely. You will have some more pointers as we go on. So let's continue on with our the slides, please.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you,
About that should you wait till 50 or 60 to start chanting, and how do we deal with that? We will discuss that in a while. Can we have the next slide, please? Thank you for your inputs. Discuss about the difference between a grihastha versus a griha medhi. Griha means home, or you can say house. Grihastha means someone who is stable, sthita pragya, stha, at home. Grihastha means they are having a stable family life, spiritually stable family life. And griha medhi is, he is living in the griha, but his mind is in all over sense gratification. As you can see in the top portion of the slide, just focused on money. Of course, money is very important, but love for money and to neglect other things in our life because of just being focused on money or sense gratification, that's not good. Grihastha is an ashram. Ashram means where we take ashray, where we take shelter. Ashray means shelter. Ashram comes from the word ashray. There is brahmachari ashram. So the male adults, they take shelter of Krishna as a brahmachari. And then grihastha ashram. Griha medhi is not an ashram. When this is grihastha, then you can take ashray of the Lord. That's why Krishna is the center of that relationship. He's the third partner. He's actually the first partner in the relationship. But still, because we are talking about grihastha ashram, we can take shelter of Krishna if we are in the grihastha ashram. There is nothing called griha medhi ashram. Griha medhi is just griha medhi. Now, what is a griha medhi? Simply living in a home with a husband or wife and children does not make one a grihastha.
A griha medhi is one who lives externally in a homely kind of an environment, but their goal of life is just sense enjoyment, sense gratification. But whereas a grihastha, he leads, they lead a God-centered life. They know the ultimate goal of life is not to be, it is to be developing our, lost relationship with Krishna. So this is the main difference between grihasthas and grihamedhis.
If a husband and a wife, they combine together in Krishna consciousness and they live together peacefully, they help each other, they serve each other, they know that we are coming together to assist each other in our journey towards back home, back to Godhead, then that is very nice. That is grihastha life.
However, if each other, of the couple, if they are just attracted because of some bodily attractions or just for some security because, that person is earning very nicely, I'll have a nice home, I'll have a nice, place to stay, I'll have nice luxuries in life. If that is the main thing, then that is grihamedhi life. It becomes impedimental to spiritual progress, and the implications of material life will very, very quickly, take over such homes?
Krishna, he describes how a householder should act until his natural propensity for sense gratification or for enjoying the sense objects is completely overcome and until he fully attains the characteristics of a pure devotee. So this is how a grihastha should, because one is either we live a renounced life, a brahmachari or a sannyasi life, but then we are not able to regulate, we are not able to control our senses, then we regulate the senses in the grihastha ashram. And Krishna describes in Srimad Bhagavatam, having awakened faith in the narrations of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyments, my devotee remains happy and worships me with great faith and conviction. Even though he's sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities. So Krishna, this is a very big thing, because Krishna understands our position. He knows that we are wanting to leave sense gratification. We want to do this, and we want to develop taste for hearing and chanting and going back home, back to Godhead. But we are somewhere in the middle. Actually, there are two kinds of people who can be happy. One is a completely mad person. He can be completely happy. And the other is a pure devotee. He'll be completely happy. Everyone in between is miserable, because devotees in the middle, we know we should not do sense gratification, but we have not yet developed a taste for spiritual experiences. And so we keep getting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So Krishna understands that, and if we regulate it, Krishna will help.
So the Lord, this is how Krishna explains in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the differences, that a devotee, basically is always trying. That is the glorious thing about a devotee. A devotee who may not become a pure devotee overnight, but still a devotee at least knows that yes, engaging in a sense gratification is wrong. Engaging in materialistic activities, enjoyment from that activities is wrong. At least the devotee has that idea, and they can work towards improving that, of giving up of that. And how can we work on that? That can be worked on when we associate with devotees, when we associate with senior devotees who can inspire us, seeing whom we can feel that, yes, now I really have the more to engage in services more. So that is the qualification of a devotee. And that is what Krishna is saying here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So now we will talk about some practical sessions, which is going to be very, because we are, a grihastha couple, a married couple, they face so many problems, so many challenges and situations in every day, which can make their existence very miserable. This Kali Yuga is it's crazy. It's an ocean of faults, an ocean of misery. And, when two people stay together, there is bound to be friction. I would like you all to do one practical exercise. Everyone, keep your left finger like this, and then draw a circle with your right finger around it. Keeping that finger in the center, draw a circle around it. Draw another circle around it, keeping the same finger in the center. Keep drawing circles around it. Do you think any of these circles will ever collide? Even though they may be overlapping each other, will they ever collide? No, they will never collide. Now, for example, let's see these two. Now let's draw circles. Come on, with two centers. Now you have two centers. Let's draw circles. What's happening? Hey, you're in my line. Hey, no, 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 no. Why you're in my line? No, 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 no. There is bound to be friction. So what do we understand by this exercise? That when we have one center, when Krishna is the only center of our life, there will be no friction. But when the wife has their own center, the children have their own center, the husband has their own centers, the in-laws have their own centers, parents have their own centers, everyone in the family have their own centers, and we are drawing circles with everyone in the center, there's bound to be friction. So that is how we need to understand, at least understand this, this concept as a reality, as a fact. So now let's see what happens in some practical scenarios.
So in the scenarios that we are going to look at, a general problem is that every wife thinks that her husband is not giving her enough time. And every husband thinks, I'm doing so much for her. I'm giving so much time. What else can I do? What more does he want? And this situation arises because of high expectations from each other. What is the solution? There is no one solution that fits every situation. But generally, if we can accept one's partner as he or she is and carry out the duties in mutual consultation rather than a dictatorial attitude, then it will be a long-term solution. Things may be slow because we are mutually consulting each other, we are discussing, but we'll go longer together. It's our choice. Do we want to go faster or do we want to go together and longer? So let's discuss this particular situation, which deals with lack of sensitivity.
So the husband or wife is insensitive to emotional needs of the partner. That is, they take the partner for granted. The partner does not feel cared for, though he or she may be performing his or her duties mechanically. For example, providing money in the case of a husband, taking care of the house in case of the wife, but not trying to understand what will make the partner actually feel happy or actually feel cared for. We don't understand that the husband is on their own thing that, oh, I am the breadwinner of the family, I am the head of the family. But they forget one fact, that if the husband is the head of the family, then what's the wife?
She's the neck.
She takes the pressure of putting the head, resting the head on her and telling, the neck actually moves the head.
The head thinks that I am directing everything, I am the controller. But the neck knows, if I stop the head from moving, they cannot do anything.
So that is the position of the husband and the wife. So it's not that the wife becomes superior because she is, but she definitely has more role to play than the husband. We will understand this. So let's take a scenario that this is a scenario of a couple who just had a newborn baby. So it is Krishna Das and Radha Dasi were just blessed with a newborn child, their newborn baby, Sita. And they were so exhausted because, each night their newborn daughter, Sita, would keep them up. And Radha's delivery was a very difficult delivery, and she was taking painkillers and she was, she could barely walk. She could barely, do anything. So after 5 days of staying at home to help her, Krishna Das actually stayed back with Radha for 5 days to help her. Then on the 6th day, Krishna Das went to the temple, and because, Radha seemed to be getting better.
And then when Krishna Das was away to the temple, Radha Dasi, she ran out of the pills. And instead of calling Krishna Das at the temple, she asked one of the brothers of Krishna Das who was visiting, can you please purchase more? Krishna Das's brother did not return with the pills, and Radha Dasi, she spent the whole day in pain taking care of the newborn. Now, meanwhile, Krishna Das, who felt that he has taken care of Radha Dasi for so many days, and now he's going to the temple to pay his respects to the Lord, he had no idea that her day had been so awful. And he returned home very happy to share very excited to share the experiences he had at the temple. He met the devotees at the temple asked, you were not here for so long. How is Radha Dasi doing? And Krishna Das wanted to convey all of this to his wife, and he came very excited. But when he came home, he found Radha Dasi was so upset. And Krishna Das, then he misinterpreted that maybe she's upset because she was blaming Krishna Das.
So then Radha Dasi hears the dialogues that ensued. I've been in pain all day. I ran out of pills. I've been stranded in bed and nobody cared for me.
So why didn't you call me?
Well, you were in the temple and I didn't want to disturb you, but I told your brother, but he forgot. I've been waiting for him all day to return. What am I supposed to do? I can barely walk. I feel so deserted, so left out.
Really? After all this, all that I have done for you, you're going to tell me this? Come on. You're just being so ungrateful.
Really? Really? Ungrateful? Me? No, please. And then, just then she saw that her husband is just leaving from the house. And then she just said, please, stop. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. This is when I need you the most. I'm in pain. I haven't slept in so many days. Please listen to me, please.
Okay, tell me. I'm listening to you.
So then, my dear husband, you've always been a fair weather friend to me. When I'm sweet with you, you are very loving to me also. But as soon as I am not, if I just say something, you walk right out the door. What is this? She started crying. Right now I'm in pain. I have nothing to give you. And this is when I need you the most. Please, just come here and hold me. You don't have to say anything. Please don't go. Just don't go. Just don't leave me.
Then Krishna Das realizes. He walks over, silently holds her, and Radha Dasi weeps in his arms. After a few minutes, she says,
thank you very much for not leaving. I just needed to feel you holding me. That's all I needed.
yeah, I'm sorry. At that moment, I confess, I started to realize the real meaning of love, unconditional love. I always thought that I'm a very loving person. But you're right. I had been a fair weather friend. As long as you're nice to me, as long as you're happy, I love you back. But as soon as you're upset, instead of trying to understand you, I would feel that you're trying to blame me, and I become defensive and I would argue with you. But today I realize I will never do this again.
And that day was the first time that Krishna Das did not leave her, and he stayed back, and he realized that he felt great, and he succeeded in giving to her when she needed him the most. He was there for her. So, trusting, in that relationship, that really gave him so much satisfaction that he was able to be there at the time of her need.
how could I just miss this? I mean, she just needed me to go over and hold her. Another woman would have instinctively known what Lakshmi needed, but as a man, I don't understand. I didn't know that just not saying anything, but just going, holding, listening, these are so important to her. Now I begin to learn. I'm able to learn a new way to relate to my wife. I would never believe that the way to resolve this is to not speak at all, but to communicate by actions.
Because Krishnadas did realize that in previous instances, he had become very indifferent and unloving at difficult times, because it's very easy to love when everything is very nice. It's very easy to say I love you. But when things are difficult, when things become a little challenging, that's the first instance that we take it as an excuse to just flare up. It's simply because we don't know what else to do. When we are hit in the face, our natural response is that, gosh, we also want to hit back. That's natural. But we have to, but actually, it is unnatural. It is supposed to be unnatural. We are supposed to be loving. We are supposed to be not reacting the way the other person is reacting. We need to understand that when a person is shouting, they may be shouting out of anger, but actually, why does a person get angry? We get angry because, we feel helpless. If we understand from the other person's point of view, that this person is actually shouting at me, but actually they are feeling so helpless that I'm not able to understand what they are feeling, and therefore they are feeling so horrible that they are shouting at me. That is the bottom line for anyone to feel anger. So we must understand from the other person's point of view.
If we can just see that the person, when they are angry, actually inside, externally, their eyes are becoming big and red, but internally, they are crying. Anyone who's angry inside, they are crying. And if we try to address that reason, why they are crying, then we'll be able to immediately resolve that issue. And this is where we understand the difference between how a man communicates and how a woman communicates. The woman, all they need is emotional love and support. And they don't, when they ask for, they say something, they don't want a response. They don't want an answer. They just want an acknowledgement. And this will end the session today, but we'll pick up from this particular point tomorrow as to what does a woman expect and what does a man expect in a relationship, and how that difference in expectations are very natural to the psyche of a man and a woman. It's very difficult to go against it, but if we can go against it, we'll see that's when our relationship will grow very, very close. They don't want, and this is where we will begin tomorrow, understanding the man and woman psychology. And with this, we will end today.
I can give a very generic answer. The thing is that, first of all, it is a very difficult situation, especially when kids are also there in the relationship. It's a very, very difficult situation. It's about the safety of the children. It's about the safety of the other spouse. It is about the safety. So safety definitely comes first. So if that means that for some time the the mother has to take the children away and, to the parents' house, to the in-laws' house. They should do that because safety is the most important thing. And children should also not be exposed to such kind of violence. It affects their consciousness very badly. But that doesn't mean that, there will be separation. You see, sometimes what happens is, when in the relationship, they take each other for so much granted. Sometimes a little separation also can solve many problems. And sometimes the involvement of some seniors, like especially the in-laws and the parents, can help resolve the issue when they can come in and explain, if possible, because some other person needs to come and involve. But generally, if devotees are involving in such situation, then it has to be by the agreement of both the husband and the wife. If only the husband wants and if the wife doesn't want, then that kind of involvement will not help. They both need to agree to be helped by one particular person. So that's very important. So these are certain things, but yes, safety is first and praying to Lord Nrsingadev. But at the same time, divorce or separation is definitely not an option. Separating from the husband for good. And, unless, well, we don't even want to get in there because according to Shastra, Srila Prabhupada said divorce is something that we do not even think of, that doesn't.
But in some cases, if it's extreme, those options, we have to do it. Even though there is nothing called a concept of divorce in a Vedic system, there's just marriage. There's nothing, no Sanskrit word for divorce. This is a very Western concept, but still, in some cases, in modern days, it is needed, and it's not something that we, is not the first option, at least. But at the same time, yes, in some situations it is needed. There is an example of Srila Prabhupada's sister,
Yes.
Bhavatarini Mataji. Devotees used to call her lovingly as Pishima. Pishima means father sister in Bengali, Bangla. Father sister is called as Pishima. And Bhavatarini Mataji, Pishima, used to look exactly like Srila Prabhupada. You may have seen some pictures of her. She's like Srila Prabhupada in a sari, or she looked just like him. And
yes, Prabhuji.
And Srila Prabhupada, used to make, she was younger sister. Even at that age, when Prabhupada came to Mayapur, Bhavatarini Mataji would come cook for him. And he would always make fun of her, like just tease her as a sister and like that, make fun of her, tell funny stories about their childhood to the disciples and like that. And then one day, Srila Prabhupada became very emotional. He said, Bhavatarini Mataji, I don't know how he referred to her, but she is, I make fun of her and, I chide her and say so many things. And she never talks back to me. And this is her love. But I respect her from my heart because she has had a very, very tough life. She was married to a man who was a drunkard, who also had, I've heard sometimes he would beat her. And Bhavatarini Mataji was Srila Prabhupada's sister from the, Day family who grew up in Krishna consciousness. Gaur Mohan Day, their father was a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada said. And they were just always engaged in the service of Sri Sri Radha Govinda, doing Ratha Yatra, and so many things like that. Then getting married to someone who is completely not Krishna conscious. And of course, those were different times, but also, Srila Prabhupada said she was always still loving to her husband. And when I speak these things, we speak these things, we are just repeating what Srila Prabhupada said. And it doesn't mean that for every situation what Bhavatarini Mataji said applies even in the modern context. But she was still always, she was very quiet. She would always continue serving. And after several years, her husband um, actually recognized her devotion, her chastity to him, and his heart completely changed. And eventually, he became also a devotee, favorable to devotional service. And he gave up his bad habits, and he would attribute that to no one else but his wife, Bhavatarini Mataji, and Bhishima. And of course, he left this world, and Bhishima was left alone. But still, Srila Prabhupada would take care of her. Bhishima was always loving to everyone. She never complained, neither to Krishna nor to devotees, that Krishna, I'm your devotee. What kind of situation did you put me in? She just tolerated uh, and practiced forgiveness, tolerance, humility, so many different things. Now, this does not mean that only Matajis are supposed to practice this. It's even Prabhus who need to practice this. And it is not to say that in every situation, that's how a Mataji should react. But this is just to say there have been examples where tolerance of one spouse, it could be the other way as well, where the husband has to tolerate. But the example, the tolerance and forgiveness of one spouse has changed the heart of the other. So that is one example that is there. Does not mean that we have to follow that, but there are examples.
So we hope this answers your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji and Prabhuji. Really, it's very nice, wonderful. Thank you so much for your kind association also. I'm really blessed. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. We are so grateful to
Krishna,
you for
Prabhuji.
joining us. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Some senior Grihastha couple,
Yes.
gets involved. Not just
Yes.
not just only a Mataji, not just only a Prabhu. It has to be a couple
Yes.
who need to get involved and try to speak to both of them together. Speaking to just one of them and not to both of them is not going to work, because
Yes.
uh,
I
if
could
the
realize that.
husband is speaking to any other Mataji, or if the wife is speaking to any other Prabhu, it's going to be taken otherwise. And it's not a nice
Yeah,
etiquette
that
anyways. When there are
yes.
some frictions happening in the family, it is always better that please go as a couple. Do not approach it alone.
Yes.
To help, like even if a Prabhu is going to help another Prabhu, it should not be done, because there could be friction. So always with counseling, there should always be the, it should go as a couple, go as a couple.
Yes.
And when we go as a couple, then we need to also hear separately from Mataji as a couple, then separately from the Prabhuji as a couple, and then together with them together. So these two, this thing is, or if they are even not wanting to go that way, they could go to a professional marriage counselor and see what can be done in this situation. And because then legal things are also involved, and maybe they can guide in those ways as well. So as a devotee community, we can help them, you can help them with going as a couple. But sometimes if things are, even within devotee community, they feel that we don't want other devotees, because devotee communities are small, and so things just leak out, and so the couple are really not sometimes wanting to come forward and discuss with any couple in the community. then it's better to go to a professional marriage counselor who is licensed to,
help in
help
this.
in that way.
Yes, right. And unfortunately,
given this definition of grahastha and grahamedi, generally we see that at the time of looking for alliances and marriages, it is more looks to be on a on a sense gratification level. One is so beautiful girl, one wants to marry, and the girl wants to marry to someone who is wealthy. That's the kind of platform we see that the alliances generally are made. So uh, and so once based on that the marriage system is running, but that only, as you said, may lead into more of a grahamedi kind of lifestyle. So my question is, how should we Krishna conscious practicing devotees in the future, when we want to look for alliances for our children, what should be the criteria?
Yeah, that's a very nice question, very practical, based on our experience. And we've also discussed this thing with many other uh, Vaishnava, senior Vaishnava devotees and couples who have helped in alliances and marriages of many devotees. Based on years of experience of all those devotees and also a few experience of us, the conclusion is that it is not necessary. We are devotees and we want to look for another devotee. But the more important criteria is what is the mutual emotional and mental compatibilities between the husband and the wife, or the prospective spouse that we are looking. That is more important even to the fact whether they are devotee or not. So if someone is looking for a spouse, or someone is looking for the spouse of their child or something like that, based on all these experiences of devotee marriages and all of that, the marriages which sustain longer as Vaishnava marriage, as Grihastha marriage, are those where the husband and wife have good mental and emotional compatibility. It doesn't matter whether one of them is a devotee or not a devotee, or both are devotees or both are not devotees. Sometimes both are devotees, but there is no mental, emotional compatibility. The Grihastha ashram, there is no ashraya. Sometimes there are cases where both are not devotees. They have good emotional, mental compatibility. They both became devotees and they immediately rise in their Krishna consciousness and help each other in advancing. Sometimes one person takes to Krishna consciousness, one person is not, but they have good emotional, mental compatibility. Then also they are growing very nicely. So in all these situations, what comes across is that the criteria is not so much whether the prospective spouse is a devotee or not. Because if there is mutual emotional, mental compatibility, then even if the spouse is not a devotee now, they'll eventually become devotees because there is, mutual emotional, mental compatibility. That is an important aspect to success in Grihastha ashram, more than even whether that person is a devotee or not. Of course, and so yeah, does that answer your question, or were you asking that?
It does answer the question, but the follow-up question would be, I'm sorry taking this time, Prabhu, but because it's so important, I felt to know, how do we actually know the mental and emotional capability of some other spouse without really spending time with that person? So that's where the things lead to from the mind. So just can you elaborate a little bit? How is it possible to assess?
Yeah, so yes, that's a different question altogether. and that requires a lot of thought, a lot of understanding, and all of that. But the point that we wanted to say is, many times we look, the criteria that we are looking at is completely different. Sometimes we just say, oh, that person is a devotee from a devotee family. Okay, let's get married. We have many alliances. One is such and such who's not a devotee, the other who is a devotee, and let's go for a devotee just because they are. All I was saying, or all we were saying, is that that should not be the criteria. Criteria should be mental emotional compatibility. Now, how to understand that is a different question.
That can be understood very easily, actually. Srila Jayapataka Maharaj, he says that it's very important for the families to speak to the prospective spouse, to this prospective bride or the groom. It's very important for them to speak as a family, and even the first time, how they're acting, how they're responding. Jayapataka Maharaj said that we understand, you can get a hang of it. You don't have to, he was talking in the context, actually a question was asked to him about live-in relationships and things like that. So he said, that's a bogus concept. You don't need time to spend to know the other person. You can know the other person in just one time, or just 2 meetings is more than enough to come to know about what is the actual tendency about of the person. So that's what he said.
Background checks.
Yeah,
sometimes
even asking other devotees, the community that devotee belongs from, making some inquiry about that devotee from an authoritative point of view. So all of that is important, and then you can get a hang of who this person actually is.
And there are some Krishna conscious marriage bureaus who have some checklists which they ask both the prospective bride and groom to fill in, and based on that, they are able to. Those are specific questions to identify the probable compatibility.
And also compatibility tests are given. Lots of things are given, actually, which are part of the devotee marriage bureau. And yes, astrology does play an important role, but astrology is not all in all. Devotees are not controlled by astrology, so to speak. But yes, matching horoscopes and matching the astrological chart is a very important aspect in looking for perspective, at least because, it gives us a framework, it gives us a direction. Astrology, it's said that it gives us a direction whether we should proceed or not, or how should we proceed with caution. Okay, these are the things that are there. Then we can consult with devotees. There are so many devotee astrologers, and they are perfect, to be consulted. So yes, they must be consulted. So hope this answers your question, Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mataji. Very well explained. Thank you very much. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
My respectable, humble obeisances, both
Hare
of you.
Krishna.
Today's class was so good, Mataji. Very, very nicely, Prabhuji and Mataji, you both have explained.
See, this is where samskaras come in. How we are raised in our own life. That upbringing is a very important aspect, which comes out. Like, remember we were telling the story that there was a Sanskrit scholar who knew so many languages. He was so expert in, knowing so many languages. So, Akbar, he said to Birbal that, Birbal, how do we find out what is his mother tongue? We don't even know. So then Birbal said, don't worry, I'll find out for you. So he went in the early morning to that scholar's house, and he put an ice cold bucket of water on top of that scholar when he was sleeping. And then he got up and he said, who is this? And he spoke in his mother tongue. So when we are actually attacked in our, like sensitive points, when our sensitive points are tickled, then the actual nature comes out, so to speak. That's the moral of the story. So, and that happens in husband-wife relationship. A lot of times our sensitive points are challenged. They are questioned. So that's why our innate natures, they tend to come out. And that's something that will go with practice. The more that we practice and we associate with devotees, we attend such kind of workshops, grihastha workshops. There are so many self-development kind of sessions that we should take in order to improve ourselves. But we should not look down upon that person saying that, oh, look, he is talking nonsense. He's talking like this, talking like that. Not judge them like that. Even the wife should not judge the husband in that way, or the other way around. The husband also should not judge the wife, but rather we should try to see what could be the solution. Probably attending some kind of workshops like this, where we understand, okay, I need to change, the way I am, responding to stimuli, the way I'm responding to, just whenever I'm, angered a little bit finger coming in, and then I just get agitated. That's something that we need to work on. These are anarthas that need to be taken care of, which can go only by the process of chanting and continuing to associate with devotees. That's the bottom line. So that's.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji and Prabhuji. It's really a wonderful session and really practical. And thank you so much. You have to communicate in a relationship to go to smoothly understand each other. How to handle it, Mataji?
Well, one thing is that I can give you several examples, but there's one devotee. She was an initiated devotee. She was married to, a non-devotee, and she was initiated, and she was married to a non-devotee. And in the beginning, there was so much friction. For almost 10 years, 2 sons were born. 10 years, friction continued. But, I used to keep telling her that, like Srila Prabhupada said this, this is Prabhupada's example. Srila Prabhupada said, when one of the spouse is attracted to Krishna, the other spouse is not, then the spouse who is attracted to Krishna must behave. It's a very crude example, but Srila Prabhupada said that then the other spouse should behave how when a person is having an affair, extramarital affair,
Yes,
then you have an affair. How do you behave with the spouse? You are extra careful with them. You are very nice with them. You behave very, very nicely with them so that they don't suspect that you are having an extra, marital kind of an affair. So that's exactly what we are doing. We are having an affair with Krishna. It's a crude example, but Srila Prabhupada gave this.
And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this.
Yes. So
to Das Goswami.
Yes, Das Goswami. He said this to Das Goswami. So we need to understand this, that when we are, what Srila Prabhupada said, Srila Prabhupada didn't say Krishna activities. You can be doing any activities, but if in your consciousness, if you're connected to Krishna, then what is the problem? It's not that if you just go with your husband and, accompany him to, to the movies or to go with him to the mall and to associate with his friends, then he will also feel so nice that, oh, my wife cares for me. She's not just, thinking, oh, Krishna, 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 like that. She's at least thinking for me. She's caring for me. So then when you go 5 times, then one time you can also, when his mood is good, you will know when his mood is good. Wife always knows. So then that time you can say, I came with you so many times. Can you come with me once to the temple? He will not be able to refuse you. But what do we expect? I will not go, but you should come. I will not do, but you should do. Why? Why should that be there? That's not nice. If it is a relationship, marriage is a workshop. You have to be not just shopping, you have to work also on it. You have to work on your relationships. So there has to be sacrifice on both sides. And when, when one of the spouses is, putting in their sacrifice, the other spouse also sees, and then they will be also wanting to reciprocate. And that couple that I told you, that example that we started off with, that Prabhu is now an initiated devotee and a fantastic devotee. How did that happen? It happened because, she also went ahead with, participating in his activities, so that he did not feel that, oh, my wife is now gone away with Krishna, I can't do anything with her, or she won't do anything for me now. My wife doesn't love me anymore. My wife doesn't care for me anymore. No, we become more caring. We become more loving. Whatever is needed, that is the duty of the wife. Physical needs, taking care of him, everything is important. There should be no change. And that is not violating any of your rules and regulations. It's not. We should understand that. That is you fulfilling your duty as a wife. And then one day, with the hope that, yes, if I behave like this now, that in the future, that one day Krishna will be pleased and he will make my husband or devotee also. And then that day we will be able to follow all the rules and regulations properly. With that mood, you continue. So we have to do sacrifices too. We cannot expect that we'll stand like this and we expect the other person to bend. No, we should also bend. If we bend, then the other person bends, then we meet. Otherwise, we'll both go our own ways. It will not be proper. Please just be extra loving. He should not feel, rather what he should feel, that, oh, wow, after becoming a devotee, my wife, wow, she's become so much more loving. Yeah, what happened to my wife? She was not this loving to me. What happened? That should be the kind of change that should happen in, that he should feel in you. If he appreciates you, remember this, that if he appreciates you as a devotee, he is going to make spiritual advancement because he's glorifying a devotee. But if he is criticizing you by your actions, then you are the one who is making him delay to become a devotee. Remember that.
Thank you so much.
Our being Krishna consciousness is not dependent whether we are going to the mall, whether we are going to the beach. Nothing of that. You can keep chanting Hare Krishna in your mind. You can still laugh and joke with everyone and, look very interestingly, laugh, do everything. But in your mind, be deeply connected to Krishna. That no one can take away from you, no?
Yes, Mataji.
So
thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for a wonderful answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for a beautiful question. Very beautiful question.
Thank you. Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions?
See you tomorrow again, same time, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, and 6:30 a.m. India time. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam
Devyo namo namaha.
Thank you all so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jaya Jaya Madhava